It's downloading. Okay, so Fab has been launched by Epic, and it stinks. um, I don't know what to say other than it's super buggy and ridiculous. I don't. No one at Epic must have tested this thing very much. um, no diss on whoever worked on this project, but something is wrong with this thing. So here's the deal. Uh, Installing Fab is a little bit of a pain. I made a separate video about that. Go check it out. Now that you have Fab running, especially if you're on a Mac, you will get a lot of error messages that, oh, let's see, because I closed it out. It may not be there anymore. Oh, it's not. That will give you a manifest error. I'll show a screenshot about what that looks like. Okay, will this work? No, it didn't. Anyway, it seems like the way to resolve this is to go uninstall the plugin, restart Unreal, reinstall the plugin, and now try adding to your project again. Because as you saw, that just worked. Okay, so if you're new to Fab and new to assets and you're a new level designer, especially in VR, we're going to talk about assets. Assets and asset stores like the Fab Store are the promised land, or they feel like the promised land, but they require some work. Not as much work as 3D modeling everything, but definitely some work because you can get a bunch of stuff that is useless to you or kind of screws up your project. So here's what I do to try to make sure the assets I'm getting from the asset store are actually useful to me. First thing I did, and you don't have to do this, but I made a brand new project, brand new VR project, VR template in Unreal. You can see here I'm just using VR template map. This is the generic, very first VR level templated thing in Unreal Engine. Again, you don't have to do this. I'll tell you why I do it. I have the drive space for it, etc. I'm used to setting up Unreal for VR. So I do this because I may have thousands of hours in one of my other projects, and I don't want to do anything that even feels like things are going bad. So I test out my asset packs in another project just to make sure they're fine. And then if I feel good about them, I'll go open up my project and pull the asset packs in. So I'm working in a plain vanilla project right now, and that's why. Again, you don't have to do that. I do. Do your own thing. Okay, so how it works. So you go into Fab, and just like you did in the Unreal Asset Store, you do a search. You find some assets that you like, and you add them to your project. A couple of things to think about. The first thing to think about is many assets don't work well in VR. And the reason they don't work very well in VR is because they're very high poly count. They're super fancy. The person who made those assets is thinking like super high frame rate, super graphics processor, PC game, right? But that's not what we're making. If you're making a VR level, you want super low poly count. You've got to think about it running on Android with like really no graphics horsepower. So a lot of assets aren't going to work well. So you'll need to test them out. Also, there's a lot of different graphics formats, and many of those graphics formats go weird in Unreal and without some work. So today, what we're going to do is we're going to ignore anything that's weird. We're going to work with just assets that feel out of the box good to use. Later in life, we can talk about how to like maybe fix an asset that's being weird. But today, what we're going to do is detect if an asset is weird, and then get rid of them if we don't like them. So here we go. So here's the stylized nature pack. I have downloaded this nature pack before. One thing to say about add to project versus view in my library. If I'm just trying out an asset pack, I don't add it to my library. Your library carries with you across projects. Your sorry, I lost my train of thought. I don't want to keep assets that I don't know I like in my library because they might break or be weird and I'll forget. So I add it to project first, check them out, make sure everything's good. Then if I like the asset pack and I know I want to use it, then I add it to my library. So my library is like a kind of safe place. It's a little sandbox where I know most of the models are going to be totally fine. So again, you don't have to do that, but it's something I do. Okay, so we have added this to the library. And when you do, we have added it to our project. And when you add something to your project, what you get is you get a new folder in your content folder. This folder has been named by the asset creator, right? So many folders have funky, weird names. They have to think about naming things. They're going to be unique. So if you look, what we have is a folder called Stylized PBR Nature. Is it over there? No, it's over there. Stylized PBR Nature. That is the Stylized Nature pack. Okay, so we have it. Let's go check it out. We can close this out. And let's go into Stylized PBR Nature. And often what you're going to see is a bunch of folders. And you kind of have to figure out, like, where's my stuff? So we have foliage here. And inside foliage, we have assets. And that's looking good. We have foliage types, which is looking good. We have materials. And we have textures. And the materials and textures are used to create the assets, right? We have maps. And then we have rocks. Here, let me make this a little bigger. And inside rocks, we have all kinds of little rocks, big rocks. These are cool. Materials and textures, and these materials and textures are used to make the rocks. And then we have a terrain. Yes, this just looks like terrain stuff. So, okay. So, let's go ahead and do some foliage first. So we're going to go into assets, and what you can do. Oh, sorry. Before we do that, a quick thing to do. Even though these assets are not in your level, right? Unreal has to still care about them. So the first thing you should do before even like doing anything with any one of these assets is repackage your project and make sure it doesn't fail, because it can. And if it fails, get rid of this asset pack and use a different one, because who knows why, right? So here we go. We're going to do platforms, Android, package project. And I already have a folder created called Quest 2, which is where all of my package projects goes. You can see I've already done a build in this thing, so I'm just going to put it in the default place. You may have to pick a place, a new place, but for now, I'm just going to use the one I've already used. I'm going to hit open. As always check your output log. And again, if you get a bunch of red lines and weird stuff, you know this asset pack is a no-go as far as you're concerned right now in your level design life, and you're going to delete that folder out of your content folder. Again, orange, yellow warnings, these are okay. Might be something weird about the asset pack, but not that big of a deal. But you definitely want to make sure you're not getting anything red, no red lines in your output log. So let's see, it's still going, Okay, well, we at least know that the asset pack didn't do anything weird to our build so far. So the next thing to do is to take a few assets and drag them in. And let's just do one, because why do many when you can just test one? So here is the first one. We've got it here. Let's go ahead and do... we got to build our lighting and see if it goes black. It did not go black. We built our lighting. We've got shadowing. We've got animation on this thing, so that's good. So now let's go ahead and do platforms and do a build and check our headset and make sure it's not black in our headset. We'll see. Package project, same folder. Some amber, but that's all right. No red so far. Okay, I'm gonna check it out. I always forget. I've got to do the actual deployment. So here we are. Quest 2, Android ASTC. And we want to run the install command to install it to our headset. Okay, let's check it out. Seems fine. Okay, so now we need to look at the others. Okay, let's add in some others. This is also good because we'll get a little sense of scale here. Just messing around. Let's zoom way out. Another thing this can be good for is seeing how heavy these assets are, and also just kind of getting a sense of what they really look like. It's so hard to know in the thumbnail view. So tiny plants. And put the tiny plants here in a very visible spot because again we want to make sure they don't go weird. Okay, now that we've got them in here, we want to do build our lighting. That's Shift Command semicolon also for keyboard shortcutters. Okay, lighting is built. That's good. Now we're going to go to package the project. This could take a while, so I'll speed up the video. Okay, build successful. Nothing weird here. Let's go back to our installer, run the installer. And what we want to check for is nothing weird, no all black models that have weird lighting or anything like that. It's also good for us to check performance. We've got a bunch of assets in here, see how it kind of feels with just this stuff in here. If it's already bogging down, we know we're going to be in trouble. Can't use too many then. Okay, let's check it out. Okay, so now what we need to do, it was these over here that we really couldn't look at. So what I'm going to do to help us out, delete that wall, expand our floor out, and don't forget to move out your nav mesh bounds volume, otherwise you won't be able to walk over there. Okay, now we'll double check on those trees just to make sure everything is good, but we haven't yet gotten to our rocks, which is right here. So let's add these in. These are massive, so let's scale them down a little bit. And what's good about them all being named roughly the same is we can grab them all and move them as a group. Everything's looking good. All right, let's package it up. Okay, we know those assets are in good shape. So let's try something else. Back to Fab. I'll show you something that I know is funky. Here we go. And let me find a medieval camp. Let's see how this does. If I remember right, something is weird in here. So again, add to project is going to make a new folder inside of our content folder. We don't know what it's going to be named because it's up to the developer to name it, or the asset creator to name it. And here we go, add to project, and we'll see where it goes. Okay, We did not have a problem installing, which is good. Checking our output log. No manifest errors. And we have a folder over here called Polygon Medieval Camp. And let's check it out. Same kind of situation. Again, these aren't standardized names, right? Like this one has foliage, maps, and rocks. This one has material, models, scenes, and textures. Everyone has a kind of different way of doing it. But models is what we want to use, so let's check some stuff out here. And let's look first at, let's just take, well, let's see what we got. We've got these textures, we've got scenes, we've got models. What have we got in here? Aha! We've got landscape, so we've got some clouds, and we've got some landscape, and we've got some models down here. So the thing we need to do first is, first of all, check and see if we have wrecked our application. Again, even though none of this stuff is in your actual scene, it's now a part of your app. So you need to check it out. So we're going to do Android package project and see if we get any packaging errors. Okay, no packaging errors. That's a good sign. At least that's one of the good signs. What we need is a few good signs. So now we're going to take this foliage 01 and pull it in, and it is a little tiny model. So let's zoom in on it and take a look at it. So far, so good, but the next thing to do, right, is run lighting on it. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do build lighting only. And if it turns black, we have a problem. Or if it turns any other color, we have a problem. And it turned black. There's various reasons why this could be a problem, but I would not use this asset pack for now. Again, as you become a more sophisticated level designer, you can get into how to fix this problem. But for now, don't worry about it. We're just going to hit delete on that. And I just want to check a couple. Chances are, because they were all modeled the same way, they're going to have a problem. But let's check it out. Take a look. Build lighting only. And if it turns black, just use something else. Yep. Okay. We're getting rid of this one. So the way to get rid of it is, you see this Polygon Medieval Camp. We need to get rid of this whole thing. Now, I will say, this is how you're supposed to delete it, but sometimes they don't go away. So let's see what happens. There's just a warning because it's got to load all 86 out. So yes, we want to delete them. And just a reminder, we deleted them from our scene, or from our level, from our scene first. Then we deleted the folder. And they're gone, so that's cool. Okay, so thumbs down on that one. Let's go to another one. Window, Fab. Now, there could have been, right, some useful models in there that work just fine, but for purposes now, like, just go with what you know is good. You don't want to have to deal with that stuff at this time. Let's take a look at something. Oh, while we're doing this, here's a couple things. I've been using the library, but here's just some tips for looking for models for the Quest. What I do is I uncheck these two, go to supported engine versions, and I check latest, UE 5.4. Targeted platforms, I use Oculus. And then price for me is going to be free. Now, if you want to buy some models, you can, though getting a rebate can be hard. So this is, I go with free ones. So, okay, so we have free. And now this is a big pile of stuff that meets our needs, right? Now we have some rocks in our other asset pack, right? So maybe we don't need that set of rocks. We have some low poly nature stuff as well. I think that stuff is okay. The one thing I will say is, like, let's click into here. It can be really hard based on this. This is kind of the hero shot, right? Like, this is the best looking thing it can be. So it's really pays to click into these and take a look at what you're actually getting in more detail. And this is a nice lineup of what the assets actually are, right? So it would take you some work to get to this, right? But this is what all the assets are. Let's go back. See what else is in here. This is a cool looking set of buildings. Ooh, bugs. These cars look cool. These could be useful in our urban environment. One of the things I will say with something like a vehicle is many times in these asset packs, especially the free ones, you can't really get in the car. It's really just meant to be a car to look at from the outside. I've had that issue with some trains and stuff as well. So just a heads up there. Oh, these temperate vegetation, there's a lot of these. Some of them are quite good. So look into those if you're looking for more vegetation. And let's see. Like I said, there's a lot. See all these temperate vegetation. It's really interesting. I don't know who these people are, but it's cool that they're doing it. I will say particles and stuff typically stay away from in VR because building those is a little tough. Hmm, that's kind of interesting. I kind of want to do these sci-fi barrels. Let's take a look at these. I've never seen this. Oh yeah. Okay, cool. We'll check this out. Sci-fi barrels. Looks like it's coming down okay. That's a little status downloader. That's a good sign. We'll see what it looks like in here. Sci-fi crates. Here we go. And it looks like... Oh. Okay, interesting. There's a door, a floor. Oh, now this floor could be interesting. Roof, support beam, top, walls. Let's look at these crates. Yeah. Let's pick this barrel. That's interesting. Okay. And, oh, before we do that, we need to make sure our just adding this folder before we even do anything with it didn't blow anything up. So let's package our project. And I know we haven't run into this yet, but it definitely happens where you have models that can't be cooked without some work. So and you'll get red cook errors, and your package will your packaging process will croak. So we'll see if this happens or not here. Okay, no cooking problem, something like that. So let's try one. And now that we've got it in here, build our lighting. Okay, and our lighting was built seemingly good. So let's go ahead and do platforms, Android, and package the project. And then we'll check it out in the headset and make sure that this barrel works. And this is a workflow I typically use where I'll just run one of these all the way through. And then what I'll do is I'll test all the rest at once next, if the first one makes it through. It's always a challenge to try to be as efficient as possible with this stuff. And again, the point of this, right, is get a bunch of models that you know work, that you know you can do some stuff with, so you can spend some real time moving them around, adding sound, doing all that kind of cool stuff, making a really cool experience with what you know you have that is good. If you don't check this stuff out now, you'll spend a ton of time, making sidewalks and stuff, and then you load in a car that doesn't work, and you're like, why did I spend all that time? So it really pays out to do this test. All right, let's see. Oh, we got to do the install. And your next step would be checking out all these barrels. For instance, you can select them all like that. Drag them in. Oh, they're stacked. They're all stacked on top of one another. That's fooled me. Okay, and then let's go check out our doors. Notice these are like Z fighting in the ground, so raise them up a little bit. It'll make them easier to figure out. There's one. There's two. There's 3 and 4. And let's go to our roof. Okay, and next thing we want to do is build our lighting just to make sure nothing goes black. And let's drive around a little bit, check everything out. Looking good over here. This is looking good. Looking good. Okay, our next step then, package our project. And if that goes well, you've got another asset pack that you know is good. So this is a tour of one asset pack we knew was bad, and a few others that we knew were good. And that's a pretty good overview of how I do stuff. So hopefully this will help you out. Again, with those trees, you're getting some jitter on all those trees, so I wouldn't run so many trees in your level. That animation is probably doing some frame rate damage, so making things seem wobbly in your headset. But that's it. Hopefully this was super helpful. I know it's a little tedious, but what you're trying to do right is it's like Halloween candy. You got to go through all of it and see what you got. um, and now you have asset packs you know are good and you can deploy anytime you want. Hope this was helpful, and we'll see you later.